Hi everyone, good Thursday afternoon and welcome to GoLocal Live, where we are on location in Cranston at the Rhode Island Emergency Management Agency with Director Marc Pappas. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me today.
I appreciate your taking the time as we're right here in the State Emergency Operations Center to talk about preparedness ahead of this weekend's expected heat wave. Now, not currently in it as we speak, but looking at high temperatures, tough conditions. We're already seeing other state agencies taking preparedness measures.
Certainly.
From the Department of Health, Department of Aging, looking at where things are at across the state. So here at the Emergency Management Agency, what are you doing to make sure that Rhode Island is prepared for these, again, high temperatures, heat indexes well into the hundreds?
Yep.
How should Rhode Islanders prepare?
So we're taking it very serious. We'll be monitoring all weekend with the National Weather Service, and we're working with our partners with the Governor's Office, Department of Health, Department of Emergency Management, and others. And we're really on an active campaign to message people about what to do and what not to do when the heat gets this hot.
And so those what to do's and what not to do's, we talked a little bit before we came out here, especially things to know, as folks do know, but it's always important to reiterate: cars, animals in cars, children in cars, any amount of time in cars.
Sure, and we've all heard the horror stories of that. People leaving pets and children in cars when it's really hot and they don't crack the window, and it's not even good to leave them in there with the window cracked, so just don't do it. Don't leave them in the car.
And so you've got some information about numbers that folks can call if there's a power outage or things if they need to get in touch with authorities.
I mean, if a power outage does happen, and we know when, it gets hot, people tend to put on fans and air conditioners, so is a load on the system, but in speaking with Grid this week, they don't anticipate any issues.
Okay.
But you can call your National Grid hotline to report an outage, which is 800-465-1212. And you can call 211. They have all the information on cooling centers and where you can go to cool down in the heat. And you can also check the RIMA website for anything cooling station and advice on, heat, how to get through a heat wave. And you can also, people can call their local municipalities, police, and local officials.
And how important is it for Rhode Islanders to check in again on neighbors and folks, to especially the elderly that might not be having someone who's looking out for them in this temperature?
Sure, it's extremely important to be a good neighbor, to check on the older folks and people who would be susceptible to a chronic disease and exacerbate a condition that would make them worse. So, be a good neighbor and check on all your folks, family, friends, and neighbors.
Now, I know you mentioned talking with National Grid about the load this weekend. Now, we did see just the other week a power outage in New York City. How does RIMA work with Grid and authorities in the event of a power outage, and especially looking at a weekend ahead? Again, looking, as you said, you feel fairly prepared. But what happens in that sense when something happens, when there's a big outage and there are heat concerns?
Well, we work with our partners, and Grid is certainly one of them, public utilities, and like I said, we don't anticipate anything like that this time around, but you never know. So, we kind of keep our eye on that. We have close communication with National Grid, and if something were to happen, we would certainly message out to people what to do in the event of a major power outage.
Okay, well, again, just trying to get the message across to Rhode Islanders how to be prepared, again, ahead of this weekend's heat. Anything else you want to share with Rhode Islanders while we're watching here? We've got a slideshow on GoLocal Prop about ways to stay cool, but you're really the boots on the ground for keeping Rhode Islanders safe.
Okay, so I'm going to give you my top 8, bulleted points in my order, that I think are the most important when the weather gets like this. Okay, so number 1, again, never leave children, pets, and parked cars. Not even with the window cracked. Not good. Drink plenty of fluids, stay hydrated, and avoid alcohol and liquids that contain caffeine or sugar. Again, check on our neighbors, elderly, friends, anyone with chronic diseases that could be exacerbated with the heat. I would say my top 4 is stay out of the sun. If you don't need to be in the sun when it's hot out, stay out of the sun. Stay in a shaded area where you can sit and relax, especially during the periods of the hottest part of the day, the afternoon. Wear light-colored clothing, hat outside, and limit your activities. Don't work out in the middle of the day. Work out morning, work out in the gym where it's air conditioned, or work out later in the day. And of course, stay hydrated.
Okay.
Can't drink enough.
As the director says, has a daughter who's in Florida who sees heat like this on a very constant basis
yeah, she does.
and can survive. But for Rhode Islanders, we're in the midst of summer,
Yep.
but this just happens to be a weekend of seeing very, very high temps and that high heat index.
Yeah.
And Rhode Island agencies are being prepared for this. So wanted to bring you some what to know news here again from the Rhode Island Emergency Management Agency in Cranston. So we'll provide some resources, some links if you check back into this afterwards. But we appreciate your taking the time to meet with us here
Thank
on
you
Go
very
Local
much.
Live.
I hope everybody stays cool this weekend.
Stay cool, and we'll be sure to bring you more news on GoLocalProv.com. And we'll see you shortly. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel.